Good morning, YouTube. This is no BS. I don't usually have dreams. Like, I just, rest. Last night, I had a dream. And I was in a courtroom. And I was watching Summer Wells' trial. And it's like I didn't see, there's someone on the stand. I don't see their face. This is not no fortune teller shit. This is just my dream, right? But I remember looking at the jury because everybody knows I'm big about juries, right? Like I know the intricacies of, the jury work, right? So I just know all of this is going on over here, the proceeding, but I'm watching the jury and it's like the jury, they're like looking over to each other and they're saying, and this is the part where, like, because they already know the story, because they've already heard it a billion times. And then I remember looking over at the jury at some point again, and some of them were asleep. And I was just like, it was like, going to like a movie theater and watching this thing that was, it was just this crazy high, dramatical thing, But essentially, like, when there was a time where I wasn't such a nice human being and I was looking at some really long sentences and, different periods in my life. And when you're going through stuff like that, I had dreams then about my own proceedings, right? Like just, you would have dreams about, juries doing terrible, foul shit. Like, you start thinking that it doesn't even matter what the jury says. They're all working together and they're out to get you. And, you've got all these things running through your mind because guess what? It isn't the judge that that you're performing for. It's not the people behind. It's not for the spectators. It's not for cameras if they're allowed in. Man, this performance is for the jury. Because that if this thing, God knows how this thing is going to end already. And if it ends up in court, he already knows who the people are that have been ordained to sit on that jury. And he already knows what's in the hearts of every single person on that jury before they even know they're going to be on that jury, right? And so you start to look at, who do you think is a crazy, huge spectator in all of this? The state of Tennessee. The whole state of Tennessee, not just the world. It's saturated right in Tennessee. Everybody in Tennessee has an opinion, right? It's never going to be a streak-free jury. It's got skid marks in it already. And that is that's another one of the real travesties, right? Yes, summer is gone. That's our main focus. But you know what the other focus is? The other focus is that now we have another example, another case law. With this one, it's not an actual case law, but we look at it like a YouTube case law. Now we have yet another case that YouTube has gotten involved in, and there's not been one viable tip, and there's been zero help. Like the TBI made a comment. Somebody said yesterday or whatever, I don't know when it was. I went looking for it, and I don't even know how to work Twitter, and I didn't even know what I was looking. So no, I didn't find it. But evidently at TBI Leslie made a comment that they are not working with Chris McDonough, nor did they ask for his help. So what you're seeing there is that's the nice way That's the nice way for TBI to say, hey, this is our first approach at you. We're not working. I mean, they've also been getting tons of questions about his interference. You have to know that. There's a cause, but then TBI makes a statement about Chris McDonough, and that's the effect. It's not just me. TBI is watching him like, okay, yeah. Chris always says, they're in the chat listening. Yes, they are. And you want to know what they're saying in reply to all things you've said? We didn't ask for his help. He's obstructing. It's obstruction. Now, guess what? Nobody in Tennessee is going to be able to sit on that jury hardly with a neutral bias, which is none. No one's going to be able to sit on that jury and be able to look at a case for anything involving Summer with on their mind already having been polluted with this SA. Could never happen. It is not going to happen. Right? So I would tell you that if TBI Leslie or TBI has made a statement in regards to Chris McDonough at this particular time, what does that mean? Why this timing? Well, I'll tell you why. And the layman can see it. You don't have to be an ex-old crook or a defense attorney bar certified. None of it in between. You have to know that this timing, they're telling him, we didn't ask for your help. No, we don't want your help. Because now you're dipping into this SA business, and that is fucking the jury off. That's what they're saying. They're saying it politely, though, right now. Guys, if you have a problem with any of this, there are ways to handle it. There are, you know, when someone aligns themselves with an organization like Cold Case Foundation, you know, there are professional standards in play. This is not just a shell corporation that brings in money. You know, and I didn't see anything in the breakdown about how much of the donations go out to the cases, right? You know, that part wasn't readily accessible. But what I'll tell you is, and I'm gonna not shift gears on this. They haven't addressed me. They haven't addressed. I don't want to go down through the list saying names. They generically said they're not working with any fortune tellers, and now specifically said that they're not working with Chris M. Timing is everything. Timing. It's like real estate. Location, right? So, timing. It's because of the mingling of the two cases. This, you know, before there wasn't really much that they, you know, TBI knows, like a lot of law enforcement know, if you're not living in a bubble, law enforcement knows that if it's a high profile case, it's going to play out online, right? They couldn't really stop him. And I'm guessing he, you know, clearly hadn't really crossed the threshold of anything TBI did or didn't want going on. Now this SA talk gets brought up and they jump out the box and they're like, hey, we're not involved with him, nor did we ask for his help. Now, you could look at that one of two ways, because it's smart. They're telling all of you, answering all the questions so that they don't have to answer them individually, in hopes that maybe the calls about Chris M will stop. They're getting so many calls that finally they got to come out, and with him bringing up the SA, they got to come out of the box and say, hey, whoa, we didn't ask for his help and we don't fucking want it. Facts. And then to compound it, right? It's the answering of all the questions so they don't have to answer him individually about did they ask for his help. And the other strong flip side of the coin is they're telling him individually, hey, Chris, we didn't ask for your help, nor do we want it. You know what I mean? Now, a lot of people will start saying things like, oh, why don't you want Chris's help? He's an expert. Well, there's periods of investigations where it's so private, they don't want anybody else even trampling on the ground that they've got to go back over and look at that's been trampled all over by searchers and different things that, don't necessarily have crime scene preservation on the peak, part of their search. Right? You've got guys with sticks and machetes and they're whacking shit and they're looking and they're hollering and they're screaming and they're also tired and drinking water and sweating everywhere. It's a DNA nightmare. This is facts. A fucking DNA nightmare. Right? Now, the only way, a lot of these people, they just fumble onto something. Or maybe they uncover something with a stick. Right? Any number of these things you have to dictate too that it's been handled by someone else, because guess what? That's the chain of command. When you secure the evidence, it has to be talked to. The officer that grabbed the sample. It'll also have the person's name who found the sample. All of those things, and then that becomes available to the defense. Right? So then when we come into, if there's a question about the way a particular piece of evidence was handled, or the potential that there could be a mixed sample or a contaminated DNA sample, because you had a searcher that was, inexperienced in the way that you approach, you find a cigarette butt. Well, you don't just walk up to the cigarette butt with some tweezers and throw it in a bag. That's not what you do. Right? It's a way that you approach it, right? They don't walk up to it and work backwards, right? They create a perimeter around the cigarette butt of some distance, and they're every fiber they're looking, right? Because when you come into the court and you have to show the record, the chain of evidence in the discovery, you just start shooting stuff down, right? Now, a fair defense attorney, he's going to try to exclude certain pieces of evidence before people even hear about it. A tricky defense attorney doesn't do it and waits to do it in court so that he can get that exclusion publicly in front of the jury, because even though they say strike it from the record, jurors disregard that statement. Come on, man. We're not fucking computers where you just tap, 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 tap that backspace or that delete button. No, it's in there and it's locked in, and you're like, oh, you put emphasis on it because you want it to be excluded from the record and you want it to be disregarded by the 12 in the box. This shit is important. It gets logged in. Don't play with yourself, right? Due process and justice has been tainted since the very inception. We have been locking up innocent people forever since we've been locking people up, right? Every year you see the next group of, the Innocent Project, people that spend 40, 50, 60 years in prison coming home, winning big lawsuits for, this inhumane, illegal captivity, how do you, that, and that's what it boils down to, is a jury pollution scenario, right? Like you throw out the minimal amount of evidentiary value and it will be shredded by the public. You have to remember, for as long as the inception of the justice system has been around the world, it was always handled privately. There was never an internet to blast and search and foul up and mislead, because guess what? It'd be cool, I guess, if everyone in the world was able to see these videos except and excluding everyone in Tennessee or someone that could potentially, I mean, guess what? You may have someone in Colorado that lives in Tennessee. They're up there, fucking, helping their sick mom. And they're seeing these videos and they start coffee talking to everybody else, and then boom, the shit gets fucked up. They go back to Tennessee, got to sit on that jury, right? If you believe that Don is guilty of the SA, and I guess he's admitted to it, I don't know nothing about that. That's not my business. My business is Summer, right? I don't know nothing about that, the sexual abuse stuff at all. But if you want justice for Summer, you can't, it's impossible to lump these cases together. So if you could exclude everyone from Tennessee from seeing these videos, that would be great. Can we do that? No, we cannot, right? So the only thing that you could ever hope for is that, if you're Don in them and you're innocent, man, you got to push for that case to be picked up by the feds. Because if that case gets picked up by the feds, they're going to move it the fuck out of Tennessee and you'll have a better chance at getting a cleaner jury. Right? I don't know. You think about the people 1 in 12. 12 people sitting on a jury. 1 in 12. It only takes one. One way or the other, right? So what do? What do you do? We can't take these high profile cases over to fucking Italy and run them over there where nobody knows shit about it, and you actually get a very clean jury that way when they know absolutely nothing about it. Because let me tell you, anytime, and this is on the paid expert, right? So anytime a paid expert comes on, the first question usually that a defense attorney or whomever that's countering against the expert, the first question is you're a paid expert, right? Because when you associate money with truth, that automatically tells intelligent people, because we know it's people out here that will give fellatio for money. So you see what I'm saying? What would you come up here and do for money? You'll help send somebody to prison because you manipulate the way that the science is interpreted, because this is the deal, right? It's not just about having the evidence, right? You have evidence and you're always going to have, in a circumstantial case or a thin case, you're always going to have two ideals about the way something happened or a piece of evidence, right? And each one is going to be an opinion in a way, but it's about how you interpret and relay the output of these tests, right? It's all about opinion, right? You'll get one blood splatter expert to say, this blood means this. Then you'll pay another guy to come on the other side and say, oh, well, this blood is this. And all you're hoping is that some or all of the 12 in the box agree with the one you paid, and that for whatever reason, maybe he has nice glasses or he looks fit. People are going to pick why they like something based upon something that's personal. That's why ad hominem is such a problem, right? People will sit in the box, say it's a single woman, and she sees the attractive DA prosecutor, and he keeps making eyes with her, because they do that, right? I don't know if you guys know that. They play all the angles. So if a DA sees someone that's attracted to him magnetically in any sort of way, whether they think he's smart, handsome, cute, witty, whatever, he plays them. He starts speaking to only them. You do know all these lawyer tactics, right? It's not a clean, fair game, right? So someone will get on there. Here we go, guys. Someone will get on there now, and they're going to lie. Madam, sir, have you had any exposure to any of the media involving this case online? Now, it's okay to say yes, but where you run into the problem is when they say, have you affirmed an opinion? And that's when the bullshit starts, because you have the option of doing what's right, or you're going to lie and say, no, I've formed no opinion. Like I'm the least biased of all people I know. That's what I'm like. That's what they put me down in the high school yearbook, was like least biased person. And then the other one was like most likely to be a top-notch juror. Fuck you, me.